All right, everybody, welcome into another edition of the College Court Report podcast. It's a wrap-up version of the 2017 Champions Classic. I'm joined once again with Ryan Scarfone. Ryan, how you doing?
I'm doing well, man. It was a great Champions Classic. Ready to dive into it.
Yeah, it was a couple close games as opposed to what we expected the games to be, especially the second game between Kansas and Kentucky. But we'll jump right into Duke, Michigan State. Duke comes out on top, 88-81. Most of their damage done without Marvin Bagley, who saw 10 minutes of action before getting poked in the eye by his own teammate, going up for an offensive rebound, and he did not come back after the midway point of the first half. So big win for Duke. Grayson Allen, 37 points, 7 of 11 from three-point range. Wendell Carter, double-double, 12 points, 12 rebounds. Ryan, what are your thoughts on Duke, Michigan State to start us off?
I just want to say that while I didn't get the player of the game right, obviously, because Bagley was out for the whole game, I did pick the Blue Devils, so to beat your precious state. But what a game it was! I mean, that it was just. It could have went both ways. I mean, Bridges played a hell of a game. He dropped 19, and he had 4 blocks. It was just incredible. And what I took away from Duke is they don't necessarily need Bagley to win games. They were perfectly fine without him. Duval, incredible point guard, 10 assists, 6 steals, dropped 17. That's just incredible. He is so fast off the dribble, and like you were saying, he's a pass first guy, but he's also he could be categorized as scoring first point guard. So, and then Wendell Carter Jr. double, 12 rebounds, 12 points. Incredible game. What are your thoughts, Tyler?
Yeah, you touched on Duval. I mean, obviously the assists stand out, 10 assists and 17 points, but he attempted 20 shots as a point guard and still managed to dish out 10 assists. That's incredible. I think
He's someone to keep an eye on.
To score. No, for sure. He doesn't need to score to have an impact, but he has shown that he has the ability to fill up the net every once in a while if he has to. But like you said, Duke doesn't need to rely on Bagley. And early on when he went out, they were a little iffy to start. They were shooting a lot of threes. They weren't really going inside a whole lot. Once they got settled down, after Michigan State went on their run to kind of come back and take that 1-point lead, I think it was 26-25, Michigan State got there, or Duke, got there, got settled down a bit and found their groove without Bagley and started running set plays, and Allen just took over when he was the lead guy. He played all 40 minutes, I think, too. So yeah, like you said, they don't really need Bagley in the lineup. Obviously, it doesn't hurt to have a guy like his pedigree. He played 10 minutes. He had 4 points and 6 rebounds, and 5 were offensive. So his impact on the game is, you can't deny it. But do they need him to win? No, they just beat the second best team in the country by 7 without him for the most part.
I think it gives them that edge over teams. Definitely with him in, they are 100% national championship contenders. They still are with them, but if he gets 4 points and 6 rebounds in 10 minutes of play, that's still pretty impressive. A couple times I noticed that he seemed like, you could obviously tell he was new to the college game, kind of threw up a couple shots that he was a little off balanced. But we were saying how is Michigan State's forwards going to match up against Duke's forwards? And for the most part, they did pretty well at the beginning of the game. They were, blocking a bunch of their shots, going inside towards them. I liked the zone that Duke was throwing at them. For the most part, Michigan State, they did their best in breaking it. Good ball movement, finding holes. They turned the ball over a bit too much. They were trying to be a little too glamorous with it. A couple passes that should have been bounce passes, but they did fairly well. But in the end, Grayson Allen, who knew?
Yeah, like he came out and put the team on his back, and as the senior leader, that's what you expect from those kinds of players. I mean, he's been around for 3 years. He knows what it takes to win. He knows what it takes to beat the big teams, and he's got a national championship under his belt as a freshman too. So he knows what it takes. And when the team got down, when the team was behind the 8 ball when Michigan State went on their run, kind of settled the guys down, hit that big three at the end of the first half to send Duke into the break with a 4-point lead, bit of a momentum swing, if you will. But yeah, you touched on Michigan State, 17 turnovers. They were getting too cute, I think, with that zone, one too many passes, and they kind of put themselves in bad spots, got themselves trapped in corners, and tried to throw it back to the top of the arc. And Izzo is going to be running them hard in practice. I mean, Bridges had 5 turnovers. Winston had 5 turnovers. That's not what you want from your point guard and your best player. So you can bet that will be a focal point of practice come the next time they see the court.
I would imagine free throw shooting is also on that list too. 65.5% for the Blue Devils and 55.6% for the Spartans. Not a good free throw shooting night. They did shoot well. The Spartans did shoot well from the field. Decent from 3, 36%. Duke shot 39.1% from 3 and 39.5% from the field. But free throw shooting wasn't a good night this game and the next game that we're about to talk about. So that's probably going to be a focal point of practice.
No, and I mean, they're free. So you have to hit your free shots. You have to make points. That's a lot of points left on the table by both sides. Then you could argue that was the difference for Michigan State. I mean, you're shooting just above par from the free throw line. You're not going to win a lot of games if you're shooting 55% from the field, especially against a team like Duke, who obviously is the number 1 team in the country for a reason, and they showed that tonight for sure.
So, player of the game, are you going Grayson Allen strictly because of the points he dropped? Duval because of, his 17 and 10 assists? Wendell Carter, 12 points, 12 rebounds. What do you consider the player of the game?
I think you got to go with Trayvon Duval. Just the impact he had on both ends of the floor. He scored 17, dished out 10 assists, got guys involved. And then on defense, picked up 6 steals. Stayed out of foul trouble. So he's the kind of guy you want running your team. I mean, he's 18 years old, but he has the poise of a senior on the back end. He's, like you said, he's quick. He's athletic. He gets guys involved. So I think, to me, yeah, Grayson Allen scored 37, but that's what you want from a senior guy when your star freshman goes out. You want guys like him to step up and take that moment, and that's what he did. Honorary shout-out, second in my rankings, Alex O'Connell, played a big 2 minutes. The lanky beanpole, 6'6", 171. Gets a big shout-out for running up and down the floor a couple times.
I would have to agree with you with Duval. I mean, 10 assists, 17 points, 6 steals. I'd rather take that. It's not like I'd rather take that over 37, but in terms of impact and what he was able to do, I'm going to take that over Grayson Allen's 37. He basically carried the load, and he scored maybe what Bagley would have scored, but I'm definitely going to take Duval.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was rock solid on the back end, and he was kind of a steadying force when the ship got a little rocky, and they kind of went to him and Allen and the duo. I mean, like, if you account for 54 points out of 88, that's a big deal. So, yeah, I think Duval. You're going to get consistently 17, 8 assists out of Duval on a regular basis as opposed to Allen's 37. So this is what you're going to get from Duval throughout the year, I think, and I'd take that kind of stat line any day of the week.
Do you think because Michigan State lost that they should go down in the rankings, considering Kansas had a big win against Kentucky, or do you think it should stay the same? What do you think?
Oh no, I think Michigan State will drop for sure. They'll drop a couple spots. Do I think they'll drop very far? No, probably stay top five. But you have to reward Kansas for a top 10 win, so they'll probably move up to three. Arizona will move to two. I think Wichita State will go up to four. I think they're fifth right now. Um, I think everybody moves up one spot, and then Michigan State drops to five. But you can't really drop a team that far when they lose a 7-point game to the top ranked team in the country. I think that's just cruel.
What I
and
can
unfair.
tell you is both teams did look good. So, I mean, you can make the case for any of these teams being number one, number two. So, I mean, the rankings don't really matter now, but because these are going to change so much. Michigan State might crawl back to one, might crawl back into two. Sorry, could be in a position to be number one. Duke could lose. It's basketball. We love it. That's why we watch college basketball.
Exactly, and I don't think any of the four teams that played tonight were really at their best. There was a lot that all four teams can improve on, especially like the turnovers for Michigan State and the free throw shooting, and for Duke getting Bagley back healthy. There's a lot left out there that we're going to see the teams progress as the season goes on. This was game 3 for Duke and 2 for Michigan State. It's a good benchmark of where they are, but it also shows where they can improve and where they have to be as March slowly but surely approaches, and when the game starts to really matter down the stretch. But talk about turnovers for Michigan State. The second game of the night, Kentucky and Kansas. That was sloppy, to say the least. I think Kansas had 11 turnovers. Kentucky had 18. Kansas came away 65-61 in the game that was a bit closer than we expected. We had them at like 14 and 15-point margin to victory for Kansas. What were your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I mean,
you watched a fair bit of that one.
Kansas looked rock solid as ever. Veteran leadership. Devontae Graham, he was fun. He's always fun to watch. He's this year's Frank Mason. He's now the leader of that group, and you can tell sometimes he try to force a little too many things. But I mean, he had a hell of a game. 11 points, 5 assists, 3 rebounds. But it's the types of the types of baskets that he scored. He scored some pretty tough shots to uplift his team. Yeah, Kentucky is a lot. It's not like they're a lot better than I initially thought. I mean, I think last podcast we were a little too harsh on them. We were kind of, a little bit of we were too quick to kind of say, they didn't really play against Vermont well, or Utah Valley, but Vermont's a decent team. But these kids are just starting to get back, or starting to, get in the routine of playing college basketball. So I think they eventually will find their rhythm. I definitely don't think that the SEC is for Kentucky's to lose. I think Alabama and Florida will definitely give them a run for the money, maybe even Missouri. But I think Kentucky is not as bad as, I thought. It will take some time for them to reach their potential, but eventually they will. I mean, they're a long, athletic team. They're gonna be a team where they're gonna be getting a lot of offensive rebounds, a lot of second chances. So you got to box them out. I think one guy that's going to be emerging as one of their top scorers or go-to guy is Knox. He dropped 20 points, 7 rebounds tonight, two steals. So I'm gonna look out for him to see if he maybe emerges as Kentucky's go-to guy. He certainly played really well tonight. He tried to make the last shot to get Kentucky back into the game. Couldn't do it. But all in all, Kentucky has some good things to build off of. So, yeah.
Yeah, you touched on them. They're long inside. They've got a lot of athleticism, and their bigs are talented. But to me, their guard play is what concerns me. I mean, they were 23% from three, 3 of 13. They don't really have that go-to shooter who can catch fire and hit from distance consistently and give them that push when maybe the inside isn't open or there's not the options inside. They need somebody on the back end who can kind of take over, and I don't really see that in their guards just yet. I mean, it's 3 games in, but they need that guy on the back end who can step up, be that offensive leader in terms of guards, and kind of take over a game like Grayson Allen did for Duke, hitting a lot of big threes and putting the team on his back when maybe things aren't going so well inside around the basket. But yeah, like you said, Knox, 20 points, 7 rebounds, 8 of 13 from the field, all around solid game for him. Hamidou Diallo, 14, 5 and 4. But nobody really stood out. I don't think that star guy has really emerged yet for Kentucky. They're still trying to get used to playing with one another, being a predominantly new team. It's still more of a feeling out process to see where everybody stands and trying to figure out their role in the team. Who's going to be the go-to guy at the start? Who can they kind of lean on at the end? Being a young team, that's what they got to figure out. And it may be loaded with 5-star guys, but they've got a lot to figure out before SEC play comes along. And one team you forgot to mention in the SEC, I think Texas A&M might be the team to beat right now, just based on how they played against West Virginia, going in there, beating them by 20. Statement win to start the year. So I think the Aggies are definitely the team to beat right now in the SEC.
You think the Aggies are the team to beat?
It's going to be a
right
fun
now
race,
in the
that's
SEC?
for sure.
Over Florida and Alabama?
Well, and you factor in that the Aggies beat West Virginia. I think it was 88 something, 88-65 or something like that, without Robert Williams in the lineup, who was arguably, who I think he was the preseason SEC Player of the Year, along with Porter. You could make the case that at full health,
Well, I'll
the
tell you
Aggies are
this.
the best team in the SEC.
The SEC is not just a football conference, it's definitely becoming a better basketball conference. More teams are a lot competitive this year, so it's definitely not just going to be Kentucky's for the taking, you know?
No, and then you mentioned Alabama too. Colin Sexton made his debut and they put up 22 points and I think 5 assists or 5 rebounds, one of the two. Not a bad debut for the freshman. And when they get healthy too, Braxton Key's out right now, but when they get healthy, they'll be a top 3 team in the conference. And yeah, the SEC from top to bottom is probably the deepest it's been in a few years. So it'd be nice to see close games each and every night in that conference.
Yeah.
See Kentucky not go 16 or 18-0. Nice to see them lose a few games
So
and
where
have a close conference
Kentucky
race from
stay
start to
within the
finish.
top 10? Or do they move out of it? Where do you think they stay?
Well, being Tuesday, it's tough to say how other teams do, but I could see them staying top 10, probably falling down. They're at 7 now, probably falling to 9 or 10. They'll be hanging on in that zone. I mean, you're losing to the 4th team by 4, so you're not going to fall very far. It's the same situation as Michigan State and Duke. They'll slip a bit. I mean, with a loss, you're expected to fall, but do you fall very far? Probably not. You'll still be a top 10 team, I think, and we'll see how the week plays out. But with a loss on your resume, you're probably going to fall at least 1 or 2 spots.
Now,
it's expected, but
now who's your player of the game? And I think we're going to agree on the guy.
Well, for me, I might go off the board a bit. I'm going to go LaGerald Vick.
No, I did not.
For Kansas.
No.
I don't think that's who you thought. That's not who you thought. Kind of goes back to what we said about Duval. Like Vick had 9 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 steals, and only 1 turnover. had that impact on both ends of the floor, did a little bit of everything, wasn't afraid to go inside, battle for those rebounds, can score a little bit, took good care of the ball. I was going to go Azubuike inside, 13 points, even. Perfect 5 of 5 from the field, 8 rebounds, 2 blocks. But Legerald just did a little bit of everything for Bill Self's crew.
Well, and Vic
was an integral part in their,
of his
in their
6
win.
rebounds were offensive rebounds. So that's pretty impressive. I'm going to go Newman. He hit a key 3 towards the end of the game to shift the momentum towards the Jayhawks. Mm-hmm. 9 rebounds, 2 assists, 3 steals, 12 points, 1 turnover. I think based on what we said with a player impacting all facets of the game, I think he's your guy.
Yeah, I think there's a few different options you can go with Kansas for sure. The case could be made even too for Kevin Knox with his 20 points keeping Kentucky in the game down the stretch. And he did count for 33% of their points. So you could have went a few different ways, but any final thoughts on the 2017
Well, I can tell you
Champions
this.
Classic,
it
which
did not
now,
disappoint. I'm glad that the second game, Kansas and Kentucky, was a lot closer than we initially predicted. These teams, these 4 teams are going to be good. They're going to be at the top pretty much the whole year, I believe. It's really at this point, it was great to see kind of where teams are at. Still really don't know who that act like we still don't really know who the top team is. Right now it's still up for debate. We'll see based on how more games play out. But great basketball. Love it.
Yeah, obviously, you got to make the case for Duke being the number 1 team in the country, but you can also say Arizona's deserving of number 1. Wichita State is deserving of number 1 with the way they beat Charleston last night. But I think you can't ask for much more when you have 4 of the top 7 teams in the country, and the 2 games are decided by a combined 11 points. You can't ask for much more in the early parts of the season. So I think we were, as fans, treated to a pair of great basketball games to start the year, and it just adds to more excitement as the season rolls on.
A lot of great upcoming games to look forward to. So have to keep an eye out for that.
Yeah, people always ask what game you're looking forward to, and I said this in the last podcast too. Every single one of them. I don't want the season to move on too quick or anything, so you just enjoy each game as it comes, and you take the good play with the bad play. You take the big time 3-point shots with the sloppy turnovers. You just enjoy the process.
That's what the beauty of it is.
Enjoy the journey to March, and take it as it comes.
Pure love of the game. Some want to make it to the next level, but all in all, they're playing their asses off to reach any sort of goal that they're trying to achieve. But I'm excited for the not preseason, but it's the early season tournament play, Maui tournament. What's the did you say what was the one that Duke's in? Duke and is it like the Portland? Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, so that.
The PK80.
That's going to be another good one.
The Phil Knight.
Isn't there one in Atlantis?
That kicks off next week, I think.
It's like the Battle of Atlantis. Yeah, that's one that I always look forward to watching.
The Battle for Atlantis
coming up.
Yeah. Yeah, and a lot of those get underway this weekend, so definitely a lot of good basketball to tune into in the next few days and over the next 4 months as we embark on the road to San Antonio and the Final Four. But with that, the Champions Classic is in the books, and that means this podcast is as well. Thanks for tuning in for Ryan and myself. Thanks for tuning in, and we will chat with you again soon. Cheers.